Fundraising Basics for a Corporate SSF, an online presentation of the FEC Information Division. This presentation explains the general rules that corporate separate segregated funds, SSFs or PACs, must follow when soliciting contributions. First, it is important to understand the definition of a separate segregated fund. An SSF is a PAC that is established, administered, or financially supported by a corporation, labor organization, trade association, or membership organization. This presentation focuses on SSFs supported by corporations. There are four main rules to keep in mind when soliciting for an SSF. First, all contributions must be voluntary. Individuals may not be coerced in any way into making contributions to an SSF. Second, the solicitations must include certain notices to those being solicited. Third, the SSF may only solicit a limited class of individuals for contributions. And finally, if contributions are collected by an entity other than the SSF itself, for instance, by the corporation through payroll deduction, all contributions and records must be forwarded to the SSF in a timely manner. First, let's take a look at the requirement that all contributions to the SSF must be voluntary. Contributions to an SSF may not be secured by the use or threat of physical force, job discrimination, or financial reprisal. For example, it would be illegal to threaten an employee with a possible demotion in order to encourage that employee to make a contribution. Additionally, an SSF may not use dues or fees obtained as a condition of membership or employment in the connected organization, even if the dues or fees are refundable upon request. Furthermore, the SSF may not use money obtained as the result of a commercial transaction. Next, let's consider the special notices, either oral or written, that are required on all SSF solicitations. Every time an SSF or its connected organization solicits individuals for contributions, it must inform them of the political purpose of the SSF. For example, if the SSF's connected organization is a car maker, then its political purpose statement could say that the SSF exists for the benefit of political candidates and activities on a state and national level that support the automotive industry. The solicitation must also inform solicitees of their right to refuse to contribute without fear of reprisal. This notice helps to ensure that individuals solicited for PAC contributions understand that their contributions are voluntary. An SSF may suggest contribution amounts in its solicitations. However, if it chooses to do so, the solicitation must state that the proposed amount is only a suggestion, that potential contributors may give more or less than the suggested amount, and that their contribution or refusal to contribute will not benefit or disadvantage them in any way. Next, let's define the limited class of individuals that a corporate SSF may solicit for contributions at any time. The restricted or solicitable class for a corporate PAC includes the corporation's executive and administrative personnel, the company's stockholders, and the families of both of those groups. Soliciting the general public for contributions to an SSF is strictly prohibited. An SSF may lawfully accept unsolicited contributions, but it may not inform individuals outside the restricted class that unsolicited contributions are acceptable, as that would constitute a solicitation. In other words, if a member of the general public decides to contribute to an SSF, the PAC can accept the contribution as long as it did not advertise its ability to accept unsolicited contributions or otherwise solicit the contribution. Finally, let's discuss the proper procedures for collecting and forwarding contributions to an SSF. In some cases, an entity other than the SSF itself may collect and forward contributions to the PAC. An entity acting in that capacity is called a collecting agent. To serve as a collecting agent, the entity must be connected to or affiliated with the SSF. For example, the SSF's connected organization, a parent or subsidiary organization, or an affiliated committee could serve as a collecting agent. collecting agents must forward each contribution they collect, along with all required record-keeping information, to the SSF within certain time frames, depending on the amount of the contribution. If the individual contribution is $50 or less, then the contribution and related records must be forwarded to the SSF within 30 days. If the amount of the individual contribution is more than $50, then the collecting agent must forward the contribution and associated records to the SSF within 10 days. If an individual donor's contributions exceed $200 during a calendar year, the records must include not only the name and address of the contributor, but also his or her occupation and name of employer. If the collecting agent receives a check payable to the SSF, it must forward that check directly to the PAC. Often, though, a collecting agent will receive a contribution intended for the SSF as part of another transaction, such as a payroll deduction or a dues payment. In those instances, the agent may temporarily deposit the funds in a transmittal account used solely for collecting and forwarding such contributions, in the collecting agent's own account, or into a non-federal account, such as a state PAC. When depositing SSF contributions into one of the latter two accounts, the collecting agent must keep separate records of all receipts and disbursements of SSF contributions. It is important that the collecting agent follow all of these requirements and retain records of its deposits and transmittals for 3 years. Ultimately, however, it is the SSF's responsibility to ensure that its collecting agent complies with all the transmittal timelines, record-keeping rules, and other requirements. The SSF is also responsible for reporting contributions that pass through collecting agents, along with all of its other receipts and disbursements. The SSF should report the contributions as coming from the original donors, rather than as a transfer from a collecting agent. If the contribution must be itemized, then the date of receipt is the day the collecting agent received the contribution. The date of receipt for payroll deductions is the date the contribution is deducted, not the date the SSF actually received the money. Let's wrap up our discussion by reviewing a few key points regarding fundraising for a corporate SSF. First, all contributions must be voluntary. Solicitations must contain special notices regarding the purpose of the SSF and the fact that individuals bear no risk of reprisal if they decide not to contribute. The PAC may solicit only its executives, stockholders, and the families of both groups for contributions at any time. Finally, only certain entities are allowed to act as collecting agents, and they must follow specific procedures when collecting and forwarding contributions to the SSF. The Federal Election Commission is committed to helping individuals comply with the federal campaign finance laws. We provide a wealth of compliance information on our website. We maintain a toll-free information line you can call for help without having to identify yourself. We respond promptly to questions sent by email, and we conduct conferences throughout the country and host informational sessions in Washington, D.C. We encourage you to make use of these resources and look forward to serving you.